Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Stars Astrology. I am Joachim, and in today's video, on the multiple requests of one of our viewers to do Revati Nakshatra, I will give a presentation on this very interesting asterism. So, Revati Nakshatra. First of all, sidereally, the nakshatras, we have to take them sidereally. It's 16 degrees 40 minutes to 30 degrees Pisces. However, the interesting part here is that tropically, 10 degrees 31 minutes to 23 degrees 51 minutes in Aries. And once you study this nakshatra, it has a lot of Aries energy, in my opinion. So you have to deep dive because, similarly to Vishaka natives, these people are very goal orientated. So the asterism itself, when we look into the night sky sidereally, we see here Eta and Zeta Piscicum. Now, Pisces in itself is just such a huge chunk in the night sky, and then you have Aries, this little piece, and then you see already here we have the Pleiades in Taurus sidereally, but this little piece is considered Aries, and from Taurus to Pisces, it's actually not a big part. So this all of this we have to take with a grain of salt, in my opinion, and we have to study this more thoroughly. Now, anyway, the two stars representing Revati Nakshatra itself is here Eta Piscum and Zeta Piscum, right at the ecliptic. So now you see here Jupiter and Uranus in Ashwini Nakshatra and Uranus in Bharani Nakshatra, but there's no planets at the moment transiting. However, to complete the series, I will give my presentation. Now, a very interesting, famous personality, which is complete Revati Nakshatra, in my opinion, is Angelina Jolie. And this is due to the fact that she has Moon conjunct Jupiter and Mars in Revati Nakshatra in the 10th house. Now, I use tropical Rashis with the sidereal nakshatra placement, so all of this is in Aries. And once you study her life, we see there is so much of this Aries energy. Okay, the Pisces, there is also this dreamy part, but the overall energetic dimension of Revati is very active. And the other interesting part is that she also has Venus in Pusha Nakshatra and then Saturn in Punarvashu Nakshatra. So very benefic, very caregiving person here. And we see she was also involved in adopting children in war zones. And all of these things will come here to the surface. Now, one more little detail here in the Sashyamsa chart, the D60, we see that she actually has a Lagna in this nakshatra. So this is also quite interesting. So, Angelina Jolie, Voight, June  4, 1975, is an American actress, filmmaker herself, and humanitarian. The recipient of numerous accolades, including Academy Awards and 3 Golden Globe Awards. She has been named Hollywood's highest paid actress multiple times. So these are goal getters, especially in the 10th house, 11th house, at home in the 4th house, 5th house, 9th house. A lot of wealth can be generated also with positions in the ninth and 2nd house. So Jolie is known for her humanitarian efforts, for which she has received the James Herschel Humanitarian Award and made an honorary Dame Commander of the Order of St. Michael and St. George, among other honors. She promotes causes including conservation, education, the women's rights, and is most noted for her advocacy on behalf of refugees as a special envoy for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, a position she held until last year or 2 years ago now, because we are 2024. Jolie has undertaken over a dozen field missions globally to refugee camps and war zones. So this is here you see really this nurturing uh, dimension of the nakshatra coming to the forefront. So Revati natives then in general are quite romantic and dreamy, emotional, sensitive, and fantasize. This is then, if you want to take the Pisces side, this soft, kind heartedness. They are very modest, kind, courageous, lovable, soft, good natured, and always ensure they don't end up hurting others. So if you have softer planets in Revati, really this comes to the forefront, especially Moon. Mm, they are very determined and stubborn, and once they make up their mind to achieve goals, they are unstoppable. So, similarly to Vishaka Anuradha, there is this very goal orientated dimension. They cannot resist pressure from others and generally can't say no and often commit to conflicting things that drift them in two different directions. And we're gonna elaborate a little bit on this a bit further. In general, they are very kind hearted, charitable, and enjoy being in the service to others because it also has the Sudra caste, especially to those in need. And this, of course, create a that's why the abundance is created because they create a lot of good karma for themselves, which then create all of that abundance. They are also fond of poetry, arts, and music, and also love to travel. So, especially in Angelina Jolie, her case, she was traveling a lot. She loved music and film and acting. So you see that a lot with Revati natives. So the motivation is moksha, the Ayurvedic dosha is kapha, Ghana is deva, straight facing forward is the orientation, the mridu, soft, mild, tender. The caste is Shudra, the guna is sattva, the Shakti is the power to nourish, protect, and foster. The power of nourishment is symbolized by Kshira, which is then also milk. The yoni is the female elephant, and then the body part, the abdomen, the groin, the ankles, and the feet. And you see, traveling is a big part of this. Now, the symbol is due to the Pisces sign, two fishes, but similar to Danishta, the main symbol is a drum. And there we see also rhythm, regulation, discipline, especially with Saturn there. These people can be very disciplined. A lot of sadakas you can also see. And then the deity which is ruling over these nakshatras, Pushan. And Pushan, um, Pushan is actually the ruler of the Aquarius sign. Now, this is really interesting. In my previous video, I have discussed the 10 lords for each of the solar months or the solar signs. And Pushan, he rules actually Aquarius then. Now, Pushan Aditya, the nourisher, he increases the supply of food, nourishes, increases everything. He can be a builder or a designer of practical things. He can use tools, work with his hands, Sudra caste. from making weapons to agriculture. And you see Angelina Jolie, she has a lot of these spy movies where she really is handling weapons. It's very systematic, always has a grander design in the mind, may appear to be quite simple, but has a very driven and hidden ambitions. He is the perfect diplomat uh, until he got his teeth knocked out by Shiva, I think, willing and able to engage on various fronts with various people and groups, so very sociable. Pushan is a Sanskrit Romanized. Pushan is a Hindu Vedic solar deity and one of the 12 Adityas. He's the god of meetings. Pushan is responsible also for marriages, journeys, travel roads, and feeding of the cattle. So the ancients were really also worshipping him for the protection of their cattle against predators. He was a psychopomp or a soul guide, uh, helping souls to, I think, safely go to their next destination or to the other world. He protected travelers from bandits and wild beasts and protected men from being exploited by other men. He's a supportive guide. He's a good God leading his adherents towards rich pasturing fields and wealth. So it's a very wealthy nakshatra. Traditionally, the name of the deity is said to be derived from Sanskrit verb pushyati, which means to cause and to thrive. And that is one of the main reasons. That's why I see a lot of this Aries energy, because we come here in this world to come and thrive and lord over the material energy. This is not a nakshatra which lets go for the final emancipation. This is not the nakshatra which, in my opinion, is the kind of the last nakshatra. It is really a go-getter nakshatra. So it's even though the one of the systematic classes is moksha, but it's more a moksha for in the service to others, in my opinion. So many modern scholars consider Pushan to be derived from the reconstructed Proto-Indian, Indo-European god Pihusan, which would thereby make Pushan a cognate of the Greek god Pan. The connection between Pan and Pushan was first proposed by the German scholar Hermann Kollitz in 1924. So there is quite a correlation between ancient Greek gods, Scandinavian gods, and Indian gods in an Indo European empire. Okay, then 10 hymns in the Rig Veda are dedicated to Pushan, including one jointly with Soma or the moon, and Pushan, and another to Indra and Pushan. His chariot is pulled by goats. So, again, the correlation to cattle protection. Sometimes he is described as driving the sun in its course across the sky. He's a solar deity. He seems to represent the sun as a guardian of flocks and herds and cattle. And Pushan is also regarded as Kavi, who in turn became an epithet of a number of gods and further in title signifying king. So, very royal demigod here. He has braided hair and a beard and carries a golden axe, and all and a goat. He eats gruel, and in the Shatapatha Brahmana is stated to be toothless. So, yeah, and that's because of the story with Shiva there at Daksha sacrifice. He's married to Surya, the daughter of the sun, whom the gods bestowed on him. He is a knower of paths and a guardian of the roads. In this role, he protects people from various dangers on roads, especially when Aries considered the first sign at the horizon. You enter into this world, you kind of mm, pray for his blessings for your path into this new life. In this role, he protects people from various dangers on roads such as wolves and ambushers. He's also associated with divine paths and is familiar with the path between earth and heaven, which allows him to lead souls to heaven. He is invoked to guard cattle, horses, sheep, and is asked to find those cattle that have been lost. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, here, text 4, there in this Daksha sacrifice, Lord Shiva was not invited, and his wife Sati was very upset. She committed kind of a suicidal fire, and then Shiva became angry. He went to the sacrifice and kind of completely destroyed everybody. So, and a few got really beaten up by these by this big demon that was created. So the demigod Pusha, it is said by Narada Muni, I think, to Maitreya, the demigod Pusha will be able to chew only through the teeth of his disciples. So after Brahma was pacifying Shiva, he kind of was asking for mercy, like, look, you destroyed everybody here. Can't you be a little bit more merciful? And then kind of Shiva said, okay, so Pusha, he will be able to chew only through the teeth of his disciples because he lost his teeth. And if alone, he will have to satisfy himself by eating dough made from chickpea flour. But the demigods who have agreed to give me my share of the sacrifice will recover from all their injuries. So I will put a link in the description to the Veda base, and then you can read this book and chapter yourself. It's quite an interesting and very famous story. The strength of Revati natives lies in the creative thinking, being independent, lucky, liked by all or many, gives and receives support, gifted at the arts, very nurtured, promoted quickly, brave, skilled in pleasing others, sociable, good counselor, proud, stately presence. These people have a real presence, sparkling personality, loves and protects animals and pets and those who are in pain. They have a long life, well groomed, good hygiene. Um, in many cases, they're born in a wealthy family, interested in ancient cultures, selflessness, compassionate, and caring. And then the weakness or the shadow side is that they take on other people's problems too much. They're overindulgent, uh, poor health, immoral attitudes, doubt ridden, low fertility, spiteful when hurt or jealous because of the sensitivity, resentful, feels inadequate, that then creates a low self esteem, overly sensitive and stubborn, volatile, codependent, easily disillusioned, victimized, feels unloved or insecure. So that's a little bit the downside of this nakshatra when you have specific yogas or planetary energies, malefic energies in malefic houses. Now, these afflictions, which happen through certain planetary influences to Revati, or these malefics in Revati, can cause nutritional deficiencies. And we also see on Angelina Jolie that's quite skinny. Uh, so malnourishment can be a trigger here because she had three marriages, three times divorced. So this nakshatra is similar to Pusha. She has Venus in Pusha also in the first house with Saturn there. Um, Yeah, this is not good for marriage. Uh, so these energies really have to be balanced, and there are kind of remedies for that to really practice if you are suffering from Revati Nakshatras. The bodily imbalances due to improper or untimely dietary habits. Similarly, afflictions to Revati or malefics with the second lord placed can give dental problems due to Pushan being knocked out his teeth by Shiva's messenger. And the native suffers from gastric indigestion and becomes unhappy with his wealth in later parts of life. Also, the Rahu Dasha comes late because you start with Mercury as the Dasha Lord. So the Rahu Dasha comes quite late in life at around the 60s. And in Revati, they've seen these happy marriages sometimes or many times have very tragic endings. Yeah, and that is then the down part. Career interest. So if you are a Revati native and you find out that well, your Lagna, your Sun, your Moon, or your Rahu is in Revati, and I want to look for a career change, and what should I choose astrologically? So we see here psychics and hypnotists, creative artists, painters, musicians, actors, entertainers, comedians make very good actors, very skillful, very sociable, illusionists, magicians, watchmakers, road planners, those working in railway, road construction, business, timekeepers, calendar makers, astrologers, professional hosts and hostesses, especially like air or ship stewards, hospice nurses, guiding old people into their next life, gemstone dealers, pearl industry, shipping and marine industry, foster homes, orphanages. We see that a lot of Revati natives have actually um, children adopted, driving, transport professions, chauffeurs, so those involved with religions, air traffic controllers, traffic cops, lighthouse workers, saints, those involved with road safety, driving instructors, travel planners, travel agents, travel agency, foster parents, film actors, comedians, politicians, humanitarian projects, charitable works, urban planners, government position, psychics, medium, mystical, journalists, publishers, and so on. This is kind of the overall career energetic dimension of Revati. So, yeah, Revati, therefore, after all of this, is one of the most pleasing and benevolent nakshatras. If you have like a Purnima in Revati, non afflicted, in trinal with Jupiter, it helps it see life in a positive light. It is the eternal optimist and remains completely unflustered even in the face of big setbacks. So, very driven to conquer the problem. It has an innate trust in divine providence. It knows how to keep the faith, but in some cases, it has tendency to not do anything else except having faith, and therefore also can be very religious fanatic, especially with Rahu in Revati. These people become very fanatical, and that has to be really regulated. In such cases, this positive quality turns out to its detriment. So, overall, Revati natives seems to have very pleasing social personalities and are usually well liked within their social sphere. This is to be expected from someone who has a good upbringing, a wealthy family, good upbringing, good education is seen. No other nakshatra comes close to Revati as far as being a socialite is concerned. Well, I would say Vishaka and Anuradha to be the closest ones. Maybe Purva Bhadrapada also. They are very Rohini, but yeah, with Rohini there are very well known afflictions. They are very good hosts, and their friendships last long in comparison to Rohini. The jealousy there can really kicks in, and because of their responsible nature, they do not have this flamboyant extravagance of Rohini. They're very understanding of other people's problems and like to be as helpful to as many people as they can. However, sometimes they take too many people's problems on their shoulders and can exhaust themselves mentally, emotionally, or physically as a result. They are always soft and polite in conversation and only spiteful if hurt or jealous. This is more the Lagna moon, softer planets, strong Venus, Jupiter. Revati is one of the most tender nakshatras and so has a tendency to get hurt very easily, very tender. Despite they are often good counselors and have a knack for solving people's problems or showing them the right path. So you can take advice from a Revati native. They're very good advisors, counselors, mentors, and just a good friend. Now, one more thing, Revatis, they can be a little bit tricky, but because they're very clever. It's one of the most clever nakshatras. It is like a chameleon, which can put up any act at any given point in time. So, really similar to Vishaka, similar to Anuradha. Uh, and the more evolved souls will use this ability for serving the universal causes, while the less evolved souls with strong Rahu in the chart end up using it for selfish motives. Yeah, so they can really blend in, be very professional, put up yeah, if things don't go well in the private front, they will still be very sociable professionally. And we see that also at the life of Angelina Jolie. Yeah, since it's the last nakshatra, it has the ability to understand and even mimic the energies of every other nakshatra. Well, okay, we have to take that with a grain of salt. This is from the book of nakshatras here. In my opinion, is not so much considered the last nakshatra. But okay, never mind. It's another topic, and we have to do enough research because also in ancient days, Bharani was kind of considered the last nakshatra. And then, anyway, it is the only complete. Okay, Revati is a complete display of all possibilities of existence. It is the only complete nakshatra in the sense that it contains all of the wisdom and knowledge there is. There's nothing which is beyond the scope of Revati's domain, and thus it is very difficult to label it, stereotype it, or put its nature and activities in a box. It always surprises others by turning into something different or change direction. So, again, they are very professional as leaders, also competitive. It's hard for the competition to kind of put them in a box. So they come up with surprises to stay on top, and and have the enemy, for example, have big question marks over their head, and it's very difficult to catch these natives and conquer them. So that's why it's one of the most abundant nakshatras. Also can give immense wealth to the native. And that was kind of my presentation. Thank you for watching and listening, and I will see you in the next recording.